Good day, everybody. This is JD again. Today I'm going to talk to you about something that, I don't know, if you listen to it and understand where it comes from, it's only going to make you all realize how wrong our government has been over the centuries when it comes to this. There was a time down here in Norfolk where cops would go around looking in bedroom windows, and if they seen two consenting adults in any other position but the female on the bottom and the male on top, they were arrested. Yes. What stopped that from happening is a judge threw one of those cops who did that in jail for peeping Tom. But there's a very important lesson about this. Let me best get into it. There was a great man that walked on the earth, and once was asked about the government and God. And our Constitution is based on what this man said. This great man held up a coin and asked whose face was on that coin. You all know who I'm talking about. And his reply was, "Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and render unto God what is God." How is this dealing with this thing about sex? This is the way I truly feel our government is interfering into what is God's judgment, God's decision. Two consenting adults. Notice that that is consenting and adults participating in a sexual act is between them and God, not the state government, not the city government, not the federal government. What they do in the privacy of their home, I said in the privacy of their home, is between their religious leader, their God, and them, not the federal government. Notice I said two consenting adults. I didn't say male or female, or male and male, or male, female and female. Why? Because it's between their religious beliefs, their personal beliefs, and their God. That is a judgment for God to make. Our federal government must quit trying to be God. Whether or not your sexual preference is heterosexual or not is not the federal government's concern. Prosecuting people because they have a different view of their intimate life is not the job of the federal government. I was in the military, and I do have some negative things to say that I've experienced with gay males. Like, for example, one came up on me when I bent down to pick up a bar of soap and rubbed his dick on me. I found it very disgusting. And what I did, believe me, that gentleman, after that, that gentleman never, I walked into the shower, if he was there, he left immediately. But that is the unusual. That deserves to be prosecuted. But what people keep in their private life is their private life, not the federal government to prosecute for. If it's okay for the government to prosecute because people think their intimate relationships are different than the norm, and God and their beliefs can accept it, and they start prosecuting, are we going to get back to this time when they start prosecuting men and women? Now, I will agree, open display of sexual preferences should not be. It should be kept within decent bounds and limits. Like when I was in Saudi Arabia, one man leading another man around by holding his dick, I found very offensive. That should not be. But two men walking down the street holding hands or arm over shoulder, that's their preference. That's their life. or two women. I mean, we do not. I mean, two women walking down the street, holding hands, swinging their arms. Nothing's wrong with that. The thing is, we must tell the federal government to get out of the private life inside the home of individuals. The Constitution, yes, the Constitution says that we have that privacy. The Constitution says the federal government cannot interfere. But yet they make laws to do that. But notice what I said. Two consenting adults. That is where the boundary is. If the adults consent, there is no law broken. It's when it's forced upon by ways of drugs, alcohol, or any other means, then it becomes law abiding. You are interfering with another person's personal rights. A child is not a consenting adult. Any sexual act by an adult done onto a child is definitely against the law and should be prosecuted. But remember, the most important thing we must remember when we are dealing with us, the American citizen, what goes on in the private home of two consenting adults is their own preference. And if a man or woman says they prefer men or women over the opposite sex, they should not be prosecuted for it. It is just that, I'm sorry, I believe in the Constitution very strongly, and I believe in my religious beliefs, and I do believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in his teachings. I've tried to follow it the best I can, and what he says is very important. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Render unto God what is God. Moral judgment and discipline is God's. When it interferes with the individual's rights, then it becomes Caesar's. If it does not interfere with the individual rights of others, it is not that of Caesar's, it is that of God's. For example, murder. You take someone and you take away their right to live and prosper. Whereas employment, you give the people the right to live. You see the difference? I'm sure that individual did not consent to being killed, but he consented to the job. The same thing should go within our private life. What is God's to judge is God's to judge, not our government. And that is where I stand. Though myself I find, and I do, gay to be completely wrong, and I totally disagree with it, I do not have the right to force my personal religious beliefs onto somebody else because they believe different. It is between them, their religious leader, and God, not me. And as president, I have to support the Constitution, and as president, I will support the Constitution, and as president, no one will be persecuted because of their sexual preferences among consenting adults, as long as it is kept in where it should be. A female stripping and dancing down the street, even though she's heterosexual, and doing provocative things in public, is against the law. But if she does it in the privacy of her bedroom with her husband, it is a most welcome thing. So again, it's to be done properly, it's to be maintained in intimacy, it's to be maintained within an individual. But if a person admits that they prefer one gender over another, people should not be persecuted as long as they keep their sexual life private in their own bedroom or their own home and not publicly on the street. That is where I stand. I'm sorry if some of you find that offensive, but the Constitution says everyone has a right to be an American citizen. And as long as there's two, the relationship is among consenting adults, the government does not have the right to prosecute. Sorry, I stand on that ground.